Welcome to Oxford News This Week. I'm Elgin Nichols.
And I'm Terry Stiles. In this week's news, Oxford Council negotiates union contracts for the village police. The council also settles on a temporary village clerk position contract. And here comes major road construction.
Stay tuned, learn more about these stories and others. The Oxford News begins right now. Bargaining between the Oxford Village Council and Police Officers Union resulted in pay increases for its 3 full-time officers, filling some of the past pay gaps caused when officers voluntarily gave up pay and benefit increases during past village tough financial years. The 2008 recession resulted in a tragic number of local home foreclosures, causing a severe tax revenue loss, resulting in financial instability for the village. As a result, all village employee wages and benefits were either halted or dramatically decreased, and this new police contract will correct the losses suffered by its law enforcement. Starting July 1st, 2017 through June 30th, 2020, new officers will be hired at a starting pay of over $18 an hour. The old pay rate was $16.41. The new pay ceiling officers will be at $26.99. Officers will be required to pay more towards their retirement and health insurance, however, and for signing the new contract agreement, full-time officers will receive a $1,000 bonus. Union Steward Officer Clint Ashcroft felt the negotiations went well and was satisfied with the results.
Desperate to maintain village stability, the Oxford Village Council offered Clerk Susan Nasser a sweetheart deal if she would agree to stay until a new village manager and clerk is found. Although Nasser made it very clear she would not be known as the village manager and will only stay until June 30th, her short-term contract began April 1st. Nasser will be handling all administrative business until then. In addition to the salary bonus of $9,000 paid in $3,000 installments, Council agreed to pay Nasser nearly $2,700 a month for taking on the extra duties. Also noted in the agreement, Nasser will not be responsible for any prior acts committed by previous village administrations. Congratulations, Susan.
Major road work is expected to begin in our area in May. Starting in Addison Township, 6 miles of Lakeville Road from Rochester to just east of Glaspie Street in Oxford will be resurfaced at a cost of $165,000. Oakwood Road in Brandon Township will see 3 miles reconstructed starting at Lease Road to M24 at a cost of $1.5 million. At a cost of nearly $1 million, Baldwin Road from Seymour Lake to Oakwood will be resurfaced, so be on the lookout and be sure to drive slow and safely through those construction zones, and please have patience.
In the midst of the road construction ahead, 2 major township events will take place on the weekend of June 3rd and 4th. The first one is the Oxford Parks and Recs. They're going to host a giant lacrosse tournament at Seymour Lake Park, and the rec director Ron Davis is expecting up to 4,000 participants for that event. During the same weekend, Koenig Sand and Gravel, the 1,200-acre mining property on Lakeville Road, will be hosting a Tough Mudder event, which is expected to attract more than 8,000 visitors to the area for the weekend. County engineers are currently working with Oxford Township on how to handle the overload of traffic congestion anticipated during the construction. Tough Mudders is a popular obstacle course challenge, not for the faint of heart.
Construction on the new water main for the Lake Villa Manufacturing Homes community is scheduled to begin in mid-April. According to Sam Barna, Assistant Superintendent of Business and Operations for Oxford Schools, the construction traveling down Lake Villa Road and eventually extending along Wildcat Drive will not occur until the school is out for the summer. Barna concludes parents should not worry as the construction shouldn't interrupt school traffic.
A new business that opened in downtown Oxford has become an instant sensation. Homegrown Brewery, which was once the Oxford Veterans Building, had over 300 attend a soft opening in order to sample their homegrown craft beer and great food selection. Owner and operators John and Marie Powers from Addison Township say their opening has been a dream come true. Welcome to the community.
A 1997 Oxford High graduate, Lieutenant Colonel Brent Curtis, recently received his third Meritorious Service Medal from the Air Force. The medal is a counterpart to the Bronze Star. After graduating Oxford High, Curtis spent 4 years as a cadet at the Air Force Academy in Colorado to obtain an electrical engineering degree. As an expert jet pilot, he spent part of his career at the branch as a branch chief for future operations and executive officer to the 3rd Air Force, 17th Air Force Commander. Currently training at Randolph Air Force Base, San Antonio, Texas, and upon completion, Curtis will be assigned to train pilots in Mississippi. Curtis noted his educational experience at Oxford High School, working in the Oxford community, and the lessons he learned from his parents about hard work and dedication provided the right incentives to excel. If the name sounds familiar, Lieutenant Colonel Curtis is the son of Township Trustee Jack Curtis. Congratulations to the entire Curtis family.
Longtime resident and friend to many Oxford residents, Dr. Wallace Lee recently passed away at the age of 87. Dr. Lee was an Oxford High School graduate who went to Alma College and then on to the University of Maryland to finish his degree. He then served in the military from 1951 to 1953, where he trained as a pharmacist and earned his doctorate in dentistry in 1959. He practiced in the area for most of his life. As Dr. Lee put it, he married his one and only true love, Sue Chamberlain, in 1951. He leaves behind 5 children, 12 grandchildren, 6 great-grandchildren, and his wife of 66 years.
Oxford Addison Youth Assistants, OAYA, are looking for youth candidates, grades K through 12, to be nominated for annual youth recognition. The organization is looking for young people within the Oxford School District who have made a positive difference in another person's life or in the community as a whole. That candidate can be nominated by family, neighbors, school staff, or anyone who wishes to support a recommendation. For more information, call 248-969-5187. The award event will be held at the Oxford Middle School on Thursday, May 1st. Dinner will be served, honoring the child and parents. The number again is 248-969-5187.
Here starts the seasonal fun. On Saturday, April 15th from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m., Oxford Village will stage a free Easter egg hunt at Centennial Park downtown. The Easter Bunny will greet little ones who should bring an Easter basket to collect eggs full of goodies. And a special area will be set aside for children 4 years and younger in order not to compete with the older children. Remember that Saturday, April 15th at 10 a.m., downtown Oxford. That's it for Oxford News this week. If you want to learn more about these stories and others, stop by your local store and pick up a copy of You Know What, the Oxford Leader newspaper, or better yet, you can catch us right here at OCTV, Charter Channel 191 and AT&T Channel 99.
And coming up next on OCTV, filling in for Jamie Hughes is Cody Wright with Your Oxford Sports. Then catch Oxford School News with John Ochins. And you don't want to miss Auto Talk and Science in the News with Dave Kenny.
I'm Terry Stiles, and this is Oxford News This Week, where we bring your news closer to home.
And I'm Elgin Nichols. Remember, always be kind to your friends and neighbors, and thanks for watching.
Canine Stray Rescue is Oxford's own local dog rescue. Call them at 248-628-0435. or go to their website, dogsaver.org, and click on the Canine Stray Rescue League link.
Welcome to Science in the News. I'm Dave Kenny, and these stories are taken from the publication New Scientist. In our first story, Google's latest take on machine translation could make it easier for people to communicate with those speaking a different language by translating speech directly into text in a language they understand. Machine translation of speech normally works by first converting it into text, then translating it into text of another language. But any error in speech recognition will lead to an error in transcription and a mistake in the translation. Researchers at Google Brain, the tech giant's deep learning research arm, have turned to neural networks to cut out the middle step. By skipping transcription, the approach could potentially allow more accurate and quicker translations. The team trained its system on hundreds of hours of Spanish audio with corresponding English text. In each case, it used several layers of neural networks, computer systems loosely modeled on the human brain, to match sections of the spoken Spanish with written translation. To do this, it analyzed the waveform of Spanish audio to learn which parts seemed to correspond with chunks of written English. When it was then asked to translate, each neural layer used this knowledge to manipulate the audio waveform until it turned into the corresponding section of written English. It learns to find patterns of correspondence between the waveforms in the source language and the written text, says Dimitri Padanu at the University of Montreal in Canada, who wasn't involved with the work. After a learning period, Google's system produced a better quality English translation of Spanish speech than one that transcribed the speech written into Spanish first. It was evaluated using the BLEU score, which is designed to judge machine translations based on how close they are to that by a professional human. The system could be particularly useful in translating speech in languages that are spoken by a very few people, says Sharon Goldwater at the University of Edinburgh in the UK. International disaster relief teams, for instance, could use it to quickly put together a translation system to communicate with people they are trying to assist. When an earthquake hit in Haiti in 2010, says Goldwater, there was no translation software available for Haitian Creole. Goldwater's team is using a similar method to translate speech from Arapaho, a language spoken by only 1,000 or so people in the Native American tribe of the same name, and Ainu, a language spoken by a handful of people in Japan. The system could also be used to translate languages that are rarely written down, since it doesn't require a written version of the source language to produce successful translations. Until it's tested on a much larger data set, it's hard to tell how the new approach really compares with more conventional translation systems, says Goldwater. But she thinks it could set the standard for future machine translation. The Google Brain researchers suggest the new speech-to-text approach may also be able to produce a system that can translate multiple languages. But while machine translation keeps improving, it's difficult to tell how neural networks are coming to their solutions, says Badanu. It's very hard to understand what's happening inside those machines. Well, still at Google, thousands of Android apps are colluding to obtain information such as your contact list or location data without permission. Once Android apps are downloaded, they can function by talking with each other without notifying you. But some exploit this to gain access to data they shouldn't be able to touch. Among the 100,206 most popular apps on Google Play Store, Gang Wang of Virginia Tech and colleagues found 23,495 pairs in cahoots. But each pair contained one of just 54 apps that instigated the collusion. Those most likely to be up to mischief included emoji and ringtone apps. The researchers presented their work at a security conference in Abu Dhabi last week. And on the medical front, workplace exposure to electromagnetic fields is associated with a higher risk of developing amyotrophic lateral sclerosis, or ALS. Several studies have found a higher risk of ALS in electrical workers. One theory is that electrical shocks are to blame, or extremely low-frequency magnetic fields. Now a study of more than 58,000 men and 6,500 women suggests the second idea may be correct. Roel Vermeulen at Utrecht University in the Netherlands and his team found that people whose jobs exposed them to high levels of very low-frequency magnetic fields were twice as likely to develop ALS as people who had never had this kind of occupational exposure. Jobs with relatively high exposure include welders, sewing machine operators, and aircraft pilots, says Vermeulen. The effect of extremely low-frequency magnetic fields on ALS development is not clear, says Christian Holcher at Lancaster University in the UK. He says the finding could be interpreted with caution, as it may be a false positive. But it's sure interesting. Well, that's it for this edition of Science in the News. I'm Dave Kenny. Stay tuned to Oxford Community Television.
I'm John Ochins, and welcome to the Oxford Wildcats School Update. Before we know it, it'll be time for Oxford Gives Back 2017. It's coming up the last weekend of April. Senior Jacinta Hogan is the coordinator. She brings us up to date.
Things are going awesome. We filled our site leader slots. I think we need a couple more because of a couple late applicants. But things are going great. We had a lot of community response to it, especially Oxford High School, the early college, and Oxford Middle School. Really outstanding response to it. Lots of volunteers being sent our way.
I asked Jacinta if they need more places and people for this.
Our deadline for accepting homeowners was March 6th. We have accepted some since due to dire need. We're not going to say no, but we are pretty all set on that.
How many properties do you figure you've got so far?
We have almost 130.
Oh my.
Yes, in Oxford, Orion, Leonard, in Brandon.
And do you need more volunteers?
Definitely. We need about 400 more. So we are going to be petitioning the schools and lots of local businesses and churches in the next month to get those out there.
Can they do that online too?
Yes, there is an online sign up. You can find it on the Oxford Community Schools website.
It turns out some kids in the Leadership Club turned this into a competition entry. Bonus. Here's Jonah Grove.
We had our final state conference, which is when a lot of the schools from the state of Michigan go to. We were in Grand Rapids this year. It was the biggest venue we had, over 2,000 kids. We go there and it's just a big conference with all the schools, learning what other schools do, getting to know new people. And this year we had 4 kids, which were Jack Arnold, Maddie Majewski, Trinity Munoz, and Allie Donovan, and they all went and took a presentation. They had to go through different regional conferences to get this far, and they went there and presented to the schools. Over 70 schools tried to get to the state conference, 22 were chosen, and then through all the schools, 3 were chosen as best in showcase, and Oxford was one of them, and their project was Oxford Gives Back. So that would mean over all the 100 schools, they chose Oxford as one of the top 3 to be recognized for their presentation and what our school did.
The Safe Wheels and Heels program came around to our schools again. Courtney Berry is the trauma program manager for McLaren Oakland.
We have the children come in and we do about a 15-minute presentation going over different safety techniques regarding stranger danger, safe walking, safe riding, things like that. We do a quick, we don't want to keep them too long sitting, so usually about 15 minutes, and then we move them over and we fit them all with their own bike helmet, and they get to go home with a bike helmet and some other goodies. David
Bowman is part of McLaren's community outreach program.
Today we are facilitating the 2017 Safe Wheels and Heels program, which is a part of our injury prevention initiative, specifically providing safety bike helmets to all of the second grade students within the communities of Oxford, Clarkson, Waterford, as well as Pontiac. And so today we are here in Oxford at Daniel Axford Elementary specifically, facilitating the distribution of those helmets.
This program has several sponsors. Genesis Credit Union is one of them. Here's Roger Hurst.
I am in the Department of Social Responsibility with Genesis Credit Union, and we sponsor activities like this to help the community. We each year put some money aside, donate it to organizations like this that help the community, the children.
Even Oxford Fire Chief Pete Scholes was in on the action.
It's a great thing. We've been doing this now for about 6 years, and we're getting out over 1,000 helmets altogether, so it's been a great program.
Playhouses with a Purpose is a program a local realtor is putting on, giving certain nonprofits a chance to make some money. Pat Mueller is with our early childhood program. They are one of the contenders.
This whole big Playhouse event, which is actually part of Playhouse with a Purpose, which is an activity that's sponsored by Real Estate Gives. What's going to happen is in May we're going to the Lake Orion Flower Show. We're building our playhouse. Of course, it's not quite finished yet, and people will bid on them, just like a housing auction. The name of the project is Playhouse with a Purpose. There is a website for it as well. It's playhousewithapurpose.org. And so now we're in the process of finishing it up. So we're painting and cutting out the windows and putting the roof on and all these kind of things. It's been quite a volunteer effort.
So was this a total surprise, or did this just come out of the blue at you? Or?
Yes, actually, Real Estate Gives had approached us with the idea of why don't we participate? We're part of the community and we're a nonprofit. There's two other nonprofits, Love Inc. and the Daisy Project, who also will have playhouses that they are building too. People will come to the flower show and hopefully bid on the playhouse, and then they get to take it home.
And you guys get the funds for your program?
Yes, we do. We actually have some flower boxes to put on it. The windows come out of the sides here. And there's some more porch hardware that goes on. So it has a cute little porch. It's adorable.
The nonprofits participating have to be focused on children. The playhouses will be auctioned off at the Lake Orion Flower Show and Art Fair, May 12th and 13th. That's the Oxford School Update for this week. This is Oxford Community Television, keeping it local.
Hello Wildcat fans, Cody Wright here with the Sports Report. We have just kicked off our spring sports season. However, this week our students were on spring break, and I'm afraid that includes our athletes. However, they will come back rested and with a busy week ahead of them, so why don't we take a look at what next week holds. Well, Tuesday the 11th, boys varsity baseball will be taking on Almont High School here at home. The first pitch will be thrown at 4 p.m. And also the JV and freshman clubs both will be heading to Almont High School to take on their underclass teams on their grass. Both games will be starting at 4 o'clock. So Tuesday is a baseball day, and if you're a fan, your calendar is booked. The 11th is also a night for boys lacrosse. Varsity will be taking on West Bloomfield on their turf at 7 p.m. and JV will play beforehand at 5:30, both in West Bloomfield. It's no secret that our lacrosse boys can play, so go on and check it out for yourself Tuesday night. And Tuesday is an eventful day. We have our girls soccer taking on Clarkston High School here on our home turf. Varsity plays at 7 p.m. and JV just before them at 5:30. You can watch some baseball beforehand and then end your night with girls soccer Tuesday night at Oxford High School. And I believe we are supposed to have some nice weather that day as well, so that will be a positive. And last but not least, girls lacrosse takes on Farmington High School at home. The next night, Wednesday the 12th, varsity will be playing at 7 p.m. and JV beforehand at 5:30. A busy first half of the week and hopefully some good results to report next week. Well, not a long report this week, just wanted to update you fans on the events that lie ahead for our long and exciting spring season. For more details, go to oxfordathletics.org. For most programs, they do have their entire season schedule posted there, as well as team rosters and statistics. While you're at it, check out our website at occtv.org. Many more programs can be found there, and our sports coverage of the games can be found and watched on YouTube. They can also be found on Saturdays and Sundays between 1 and 6 on your local channel. Again, that is occtv.org. Well, that should just wrap things up for this week. Make sure to tune in next week. My name's Cody Wright. Go Wildcats.
Welcome to this edition of Auto Talk. I'm Dave Kenny, and these stories are taken from the publication Automotive News. In our first story, General Motors has connected about a quarter of its 30,000 factory robots to the internet, and the automaker already is reaping the benefits of less downtime. In the last 2 years, GM has avoided 100 potential failures of vehicle assembling robots by analyzing data they sent to external servers in the cloud, Mark Franks, director of global automation, said at a conference in Chicago on April 3rd. Connectivity is preventing assembly line interruptions and robot replacements that can take as long as 8 hours. Internet monitoring allows GM to order parts when it detects they're wearing out instead of having to store them at the factory. That reduces inventory and saves money, Frank said. GM has increased its new U.S. robotic applications by 10,000 since 2012, while boosting U.S. employment to almost a third to 105,000, according to a report by the Association for Advancing Automation that argues robots help create jobs. Hooking robots to the internet for preventive maintenance is just the start of a spurt of new robotics technology, Frank said. GM is using robots that can work safely alongside humans in the factory that produces the Chevrolet Volt plug-in hybrid, he said. The amount of technology coming at us in the next 5 years is probably more than we've seen in the last 50, Frank said. Wow. And still on the technology front, demand for LiDAR, one of the key technologies driving autonomous car development, is outstripping supply, leaving customers waiting for backlogs to clear. LiDAR, short for light detection and ranging, is one of the 3 technologies used as eyes for self-driving cars. LiDAR, radar, and cameras are often used together to map a full picture for a self-driving vehicle. The demand for LiDAR has some customers waiting more than 6 months to get their orders filled, compared with a few weeks for delivery just a year ago. Velodyne, based in Morgan Hill, California, is the automotive industry's main supplier for LiDAR. It has a long list of customers, including top automakers and tech companies. In the fourth quarter, Velodyne's LiDAR shipments tripled year over year, and the company expects them to keep growing. Velodyne shipped a few thousand LiDARs last year and could ship more than 10,000 in 2017, says Velodyne President Mike Gillen. To meet demand, Velodyne opened what it calls a mega factory in January in San Jose, California, and production will begin there later in April. Manufacturing LiDAR can be a time-consuming process. Velodyne LiDAR is incredibly dense in terms of the number of lasers and sensors in each unit. Kristen Schorndorf, Executive Director of Automotive and Transportation Mobility with EY, says the current investment in and demand for LiDAR were unexpected. The tech industry has been pouring money into LiDAR for only about 5 years, she said. The LiDAR waitlist creates an opportunity for newer companies to scoop out a bigger place in the market. Established companies shouldn't get too comfortable, Schorndorf said, because new technology could overtake the current LiDAR systems. LiDAR costs thousands of dollars, but some startups such as Quan Energy are working on it. In March, Quan Energy said it plans to start manufacturing $250 LiDAR systems later this year. Wow. And at Buick, with a sedan sales in a tailspin, General Motors is taking the Buick Regal in a slightly different direction with its latest redesign. The 6th generation Regal will be available in the U.S. as a 4-door hatchback and a wagon with no traditional sedans, GM said on April 4th. The Sportback, which is expected to account for a majority of Regal volume, will be sold in Canada and the U.S. It's about 200 pounds lighter than the outgoing Regal. The Tourex, which is 3.4 inches longer, 1.1 inch taller, and 500 pounds heavier than the Sportback, will be available only in the U.S. Occupants ride higher in the Tourex, giving buyers one of the advantages that has helped draw U.S. consumers to crossovers. The Regal nameplate dates back to 1973, and the Tourex is Buick's first wagon since Roadmaster was discontinued in 1996. The Sportback is available either in front-wheel drive with a 9-speed automatic transmission or all-wheel drive with an 8-speed. The Tourex is available only in all-wheel drive. Both body styles are powered by a 2-liter turbocharged 4-cylinder engine that produces 250 horsepower and 295 pounds-feet of torque with all-wheel drive. Nice cars. Well, that's all for this edition of Auto Talk. I'm Dave Kenny, and as always, may the wind be at your back as you cruise down life's highways. Stay tuned to Oxford Community Television.